Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Today is Wednesday, May the 7th, 2025 at 1 p.m. And I'll open this meeting to discuss the unfunded budget request from the Sheriff's Office. And with that, do we need to take a roll call here, or we're good? Okay. With that, I'll turn it over to Tiffany.
Hello, Commissioners. Sean, County Manager. So the Sheriff's Office has submitted some requests for unfunded budgets of personnel and equipment. The total number of FTEs that they are requesting is 9.5, and there is various equipment requests, some SWAT, additional equipment for some deputies, some SWAT rifles, vehicles, and some protective equipment as well. The total annual cost for these requests would be a total of $1,075,103.25. Knowing that we are in May and that the full year is obviously not here, so the budget impact this year would be about $607,000. What we do need to keep in mind is what those reoccurring costs are going to be in the future and the sustainability of those costs.
So do we have any idea what the, as you said, the annual reoccurring cost would be after this year?
Correct. So the $963,446.95 that is listed there is the annual cost. That does have the initial setup fee for each of the positions as well, if that was required. But that was only around $2,500 per FTE. So it would be a little less than that. For a total of possibly $20,000 less. So the recurring costs would still be about $460,000. $960,000.
Okay. Sheriff, do you have any input here? I mean, it's a lot, but we need to look at what do you think is priority one?
Priority one would be our records position. I can give you a brief synopsis why. Right now, our video camera records request, the request amount are skyrocketing. We had over 24,000 requests for the year of 2024, which one person was responsible for, and they couldn't keep up. Actually, we were behind on a lot of those requests. With the hiring of the new video person that earlier this year, with his estimation, we're going to be over 39,000 requests for body camera videos by the end of this year. He will not be able to keep up by himself. Kelly, our department head, she tries to assist when she can, but with all the records requests that are coming in, she's not going to be able to assist him that much. And now the courts are dismissing cases because we can't produce the videos in a timely fashion. I don't know the exact number of cases that have been thrown out so far this year because of that, but it's a handful so far this year. Excuse me. Our intention is we have a staff member who we can train up to assist Paul, so we'd have 2 video record keepers. This third person would be, the person we want to bring on would be to fulfill that person's job up front, which would be working the counter, records requests, people who come in, pay tickets, and so on. She also does the scanning of old records that we have, boxes and boxes of, and she's been scanning those on top of all of her other duties as well. 2 people have already been in different counties. One was Boulder, and I want to say the city of Pueblo. Please don't hold me to those jurisdictions. 2 people have been terminated or had to be terminated because they were unable to fulfill their time requirements on these videos. And the courts have come down on them to the point where they had to terminate people on not being able to fulfill the request. And now that that is kind of spread like wildfire through attorneys, they always remind us now, you have 10 days to give me my video. And until the legislation gets stricter on these video requests, like requirements, anybody can walk in off the street to request a video of a certain subject, certain call that we're on. We can't deny it. They may have nothing to do with the call. And if they want to pay the money for the video, we have to produce that video for them.
Is there a state statute talking about how long you have to, is it the 10 days?
Yes.
Okay. So
Right now, we have a case where we had an incident in a neighborhood, and a neighborhood resident wanted to know what's going on, and obviously they weren't involved. We couldn't tell them what's going on. So she paid, or she is paying for the body cameras to be released, and there's four different deputies. That person has to sit there and review 4 different deputies' videos to take things out, blur things that's not
redact stuff.
redact, and that takes time.
So, real quick, you mentioned they have to pay for the videos.
Yes.
And there's a fee. Is that offsetting some of this expense?
No.
Can you
We're
detail that out a little bit?
We're looking right now, we're going to compare our fees to the surrounding communities of ours. So far, we're behind on that. We're looking to raise our rates, and we're looking on to see if we have to how we have to do that. I know we were giving the first hour away from free. I don't know if that's statute where we have to give the first hour away for free or not. That is still being researched, and if it's not, we will change that immediately so we can get.
What are your fees now compared to some of the other?
$37 an hour, and the others are in the beginning 40 to mid $40 an hour per however long it takes.
So that doesn't even really cover the cost of a person's salary?
No, sir.
An hourly?
No, sir.
Okay. So basically, we're losing money there.
And once I have an idea what we're going to raise them to, obviously I'll bring it before y'all. And hopefully we'll find out if we're required to give the first hour away for free. I don't think we are, but we're just going to double check that to make sure so we don't violate any rules and regulations.
Sounds like this is out of your control. It's not something that you signed up for, not something that it's statute, it's something you got to provide
The governor,
to the courts, and it's...
about 2 or 3 years ago, the governor mandated these cameras to be on everybody, and we have to have them on all the time, and that's where, and defense attorneys, they realize that, and not only defense attorneys, people on traffic tickets, they want to see the video, the neighbors want to know what's going on there. I mean, we're getting requests from all angles.
Okay.
I think it'd be interesting to see if there's a maximum amount on that as well.
Max?
You know, if it's a state mandated thing, if they have a range that you can charge, or if it's solely at the county's discretion. I'm all for transparency, but we don't need busy work either, so we have to find that sweet spot and to see if there's mandated maximum on that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Mike, any questions?
No, not on that item.
All right, the next item, what's your next priority in the priority list?
I got the part-time to full-time victim advocate.
Okay.
She's been a part-time employee for us for several years now, and most of her budget, and Tiffany could probably tell us how much, her salary comes from grants, from Vail.
Correct. So currently, she is being recorded on the Vail grant, which we get at $10,000 to cover her annual salary. So of her part-time salary is roughly $24,000. We're covering 14 of that as a county. If she were to go to full-time, Janet had mentioned that we would like to request her salary on the JAG grant, which is $35,000 of reimbursement. And then depending on where her salary came in, she possibly could be fully reimbursed by those two grants. So that is a position that could be fully covered. If the JAG grant were able to cover the majority of her grant, and then the additional from Vail would be more than her salary, Janet would be able to change the budget on the Vail grant and request reimbursement for a different VA. So we would still get that money, it would just go towards a different salary.
And that is correct, because I just spoke to Janet before I came into the room, and she did explain the same thing. The two grants should fully cover her salary. The only thing that can't, the benefits portion.
Correct. The benefits would not be covered. And then as far as JAG goes, this has been one of those grants where we've been able to receive it, and then there's been years where we haven't. So there is no 100% guarantee that we will have this every year.
She goes before the board next week to request the grant funding.
Correct.
Will we know at that time if it's approved, or do we have a period to wait?
So that's their presentation that they're accepting from anybody who has applied. I actually have to be on that call with her. And then they'll have to go through all of those with a fine tooth. If we are awarded, it would begin in October of this year. So really, it's on a federal annual year.
If I could just comment on the amount of calls of service. We have 2 full-time VAs right now, and this third part-timer, she works 2 days a week. She's on call just like the others as well. Just over the last year, the VA's calls for service has gone up 18, almost 19% just in 1 year. And with our calls for service going up, we're gonna hit over $18,000 as an agency this year. $18,000 18,000 calls. Their calls are gonna go up as well, so.
Sorry, I'm just making some notes here.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. Any discussions on that? Sir. All right, so next item, you guys volunteer.
You got the volunteers that worked the concealed handgun. With the new legislation coming, we're trying to prepare for that. These guys are gonna get hammered in the CCW, concealed permit office. Right now, they're volunteers, and with the amount of work that's heading their way, not only for them, but for the office, with all these new gun laws that are coming into effect and having to produce certificates, we're gonna have to start doing backgrounds on people so we can process them and give them a permit to go purchase a firearm. If that continues to go through, we don't know if it is or not. I don't know if Commissioner Schroeder, you heard anything different, but we have 4 volunteers, and they're not gonna be able to keep up. We're asking that we do a part-time wage only for them, because if they left us right now, we're gonna have to pull a deputy out of the jail and put them on overtime to handle those. We don't wanna do that. These gentlemen wanna work there. They enjoy the job. They just know what's coming down the pike as well. Just to give you an example, El Paso County has hired 7 FTEs to handle 7 additional FTEs to handle their concealed handgun permit. They're averaging 31 to 32 permits a day that they have to take care of.
So to get your numbers, did you look historically at what hours they've been working? Because this is going to be an hourly position. So did you multiply the hourly wage by 4 by the amount of hours they've worked for the past year, or some historic data? Where did you get these projections that are on this?
So that actually came out between HR and myself. As a part-time position, we always budget half of the hours basically worked for an annual year. They work 80 hours in a week, so we calculated that by 40 hours, by the number of pay periods that we have.
Right now, these gentlemen, not all of them work they're open 3 days a week. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 4 hours a day, 9 to 1. Usually it's one guy, sometimes it's two on the busy days, depending on how many people call in to make appointments to get seen and so forth. So you have one guy on Saturdays, one guy on Tuesday, and most of the time, two guys on Thursday. And it's from 9 to 1 each of those days.
So it's the Senate Bill 003 that's a terrible thing here that we're dealing with.
Yes, sir.
It's my understanding that doesn't come into effect until 26. Is that August of 26? Is that accurate?
You're correct. Some portions of it, you're right. There's some portions where the concealed handgun classes are in effect because people have to give us their lesson plan and people have to come in and produce their certificates and everything. But yes, the main part on that other one is August 1st, 2026.
2026. And I know there's a lot of lawsuits going to be coming against that, so
And that's what I was,
hopefully that'll fast track and
that's what I was meaning
before
to,
the Supreme
and I hope so the same, because it's going to be a lot on that age.
I know at CCI we were discussing it, and the amount of workload that was going to be on the department across the state was immense with this bill. It's a terrible bill.
Yes.
Another unfunded mandate from the state.
So do the permit fees or the class costs, you've been currently offering it for free, right? Some type of reimbursement, you get it back, you put it in a pot.
Yeah, we charge them for their background through the CBI background, $52.50, I believe it is. We put on a class, which that class is turned around, put towards their fees. If they take the day we take them to classroom, then we take them out to the range for a half a day and they can qualify with their weapon.
Yeah, I did the class through your office. Great class. I didn't remember. It was a couple years back. I didn't remember.
We take that fee, put it towards your background check and your license. Those classes are, because of this July 1st date, it's out right now. If you don't have it, your CCW renewed by July 1st, you're going to be required to take another class. And instead of being renewable every 10 years, they're now going to be 5 years. And people are filling up the appointments so they can get renewed before the July 1st deadline. And we're running out of dates to handle the need.
So it's tough to keep asking your volunteers to just keep stepping up indefinitely and then to increase their workload. I understand that.
And so you've had an influx now since there's been talk about this bill getting through.
Oh, yes, sir. Their schedule is getting filled up every week.
Okay.
For appointments to renew early before their July 1st.
Okay. All right, next you got here's HR Director.
Yes, and that stems from the lawsuit.
I don't know that we can discuss a lot about that.
I don't know if we can either.
don't
That's
think
why I was
so.
going to leave it up to you all.
I don't think we can, honestly don't think we can dive off into that right now because it's still pending. It has not been settled, so
Yeah, that's correct.
let's err on the side of caution and not.
That's fine, and I left that up to you all.
Okay.
And just keep in mind that some of these projections are ranges, and that may be the top range. Some of the costs may be less, but that depends on, the sheriff's gonna find who he wants and, set those ranges, so.
Got it.
All right.
Next item is investigator.
Yes, sir. We're requesting one now, and then you will probably see that again in 2026 budget talks. These guys, we have 3 investigators and 1 part-timer. I'm just gonna be honest, they're getting slammed. They are totally getting slammed right now, to the point where if we don't get them some help soon, they're gonna fall really far behind, and it's going to be a lot to get caught back up. We've got a lot of felony crimes they're investigating. The felonies, at least, are between 25 and 30 cases per detective. The part-timer has half of that. and he's here 2 days a week working those. And I will tell you, most of them are sexual assaults on children, which takes a lot of time, a lot of follow-up. It's not just we interview a victim, we have to take them for a forensic interview where trained people are talking to children of that age and adapt to them to get an interview from them at that point. Search warrants on computers, cell phones. We have to go collect not only cell phones, laptops, home computers. Then we have to sit there and we have to get into it first with a court order, and then we have to take time to go through every device, and we have to try to collect evidence on each one, and it's a time-consuming process. With that said, when an investigator gets a case like that, and we have one with 6 victims, so not only is he has interviews with 6 victims, he has all that other evidence to get warrants on and do investigations on the electronic devices, but he also has other cases following in the next day that patrol's taken and gets shipped their way. So we would really like to get some help for them, and we will put in for another one next year as well. And like I said earlier, Commissioners, is that we're projecting over 18,000 calls for service this year, which is, ever since I've been a sheriff, our calls for service have continually gone up. And I don't see any stop of that coming in our direction.
You see an average increase per year since you've been here? Or is it spiking?
Well,
We had a lull for a little bit, and then we had a spike, or is it just?
I think when
pretty consistent?
I believe, without looking something up, I think my first year here, we had like a little bit over 16,000 calls, and that progressively going up 500-600 calls a year, roughly, ballpark figures.
Yeah.
And with all the new development that's coming, we can only assume it's gonna get busier for us.
Mr. Schroeder, do you have any comments or questions? Okay, animal control and code enforcement, that's definitely something we desperately need in this county.
So I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off.
No, go ahead, I do it.
So we've been dealing with this every year since I've been here. We were asked to put it in a budget. We put it in a budget every year, and that would probably be one of the first things that got cut. And I understand that. But we're doing between 650, 700 calls a year on animals alone. Whether it's dogs, horses, cattle, it doesn't matter. It's an animal. We're getting calls on them. Now, the Humane Society has lost funding for their investigative unit. So those investigations are coming to us. They assist us over the telephone, give us guidance on how to, if we have questions or need guidance on a particular abuse case of some sort, they're there for that. They won't take the case. We have to take the case. We have to do the follow-up. We have to get in contact with the vets, and if it's a neglect case. Dog bite cases, we're getting a couple a month, 3 a month, if not more, that I'm aware of. People call about loose dogs, dog fights, who's gonna pay the medical bill, and we get drug in on that issue between 2 homeowners of who's gonna pay for their medical bill on their dog after they got in a big old tussle. People call us, they can't walk the neighborhoods because loose dogs come and chase them around, or they chase the baby stroller around. So we have to go out there and we try to handle it as best we can with what we have right now. Is it the perfect way? No, it's not. We have citizens in the county, and I'm sure a lot of you already heard from them about animal control over the years and how we need it out here and so on and so forth, but we do the best we can. I tell them we do the best we can, and I'm sure your phones ring saying we need animal control in Elbert County, and so we, the Sheriff's Office, 2 maybe 3 years ago, looked into contracting with a company who does animal control, I believe for Douglas County and I believe the city of Colorado Springs. They have not returned our call, so we don't know if they're interested or not. So until we can pin them down to give you an idea, I wouldn't hang my hat on that one.
So, question for you. So we're basically talking about salary for that position. What about all the other
Well, yeah,
costs in regards to upfitting a vehicle special just for
Yeah,
an
if we-
animal or a trailer for a horse? I mean, you got a lot of other
Exactly.
expenses built into that one.
If we don't contract with somebody, we will have to have a special vehicle for dogs, cats, whatever. We will have to have a trailer for horses, cattle, whatever. Then we're gonna have to have a place to store it, the kennels, until we can get them transport. We'll probably end up transporting them to the Buddy Center. But technically, we're not allowed to transport or animals in the marked patrol units right now. OSHA does not like that. So if we had to, we would have to get it professionally detailed and cleaned and, but there is a lot of expense. You'll have to have kennels, a new vehicle, trailers for the larger animals. I don't know, this is a little bit out of my area, so we'd probably have to have a vet on contract as well to say that that animal is neglected, undernourished, the injuries occurred from a kick or
So
whatever.
it becomes a department, animal control department, almost.
Almost.
In the future, it could potentially become that. Now, code enforcement, not so much. You don't have any of those extra costs as far as code enforcement though, correct?
No, the only thing with code enforcement
This
is,
is one position, you're looking at one position for both of those.
yeah, you're looking at a dual
Yeah.
job for one person, right? Code enforcement, and from what I understand is, we want to be able to cite people. Well, to cite a citation here, you have to be a certified officer, police officer, sheriff's deputy, whoever. And the ideal position would be somebody who is post-certified, who would like to be an animal control officer plus handle the code enforcement, who can issue citations when needed. That would be my thinking, but
Do we know if there's any money budgeted in the building department for the code enforcement?
I can answer that. So, yes, we are using Safe Build to do that. Before Safe Build, we used county employees to do that. So, yeah, some of those costs would wash out the other, because we're already paying for it anyway, and we've always paid for it. The fact that the sheriff can offer actual code enforcement, that part of it being that he can certify officers, give them authority under his office to actually cite, is kind of absolutely necessary for the position. So it's kind of one of those things that we have to have.
So if we pulled out from Safe Bill, would we save enough money to be able to, would this be a wash, I guess, is what I'm trying to find out, or would we still be?
Yes, like I said, it'd be a wash.
Okay.
So those costs would even out. As far as the equipment question you asked earlier, we've already been looking at, from Public Works, the fleet manager's already been looking at finding a vehicle that would work. And then obviously we'll have to work with the sheriff's fleet manager to kind of decide what kind of equipment that vehicle would need added to it, to kind of make sure those costs are covered as well. But as you all know, animal control and code enforcement is an issue in the county that we need to have a final solution for. So if the sheriff's willing to take on that responsibility, we should probably do that before he changes his mind.
I just want to make sure that, I'm sure we will have to contract with some company or shelter or something out there, but I want to make sure that we don't get in a bind and it's a no-kill shelter. That we need to make sure of that.
the Buddy Center, I believe, is
Yeah.
no-kill.
Okay.
Find that person, though, we'll have to really, I think, it might be a little difficult, but
Mike said he'd do it. All right, next we have detentions deputy.
Yes, sir. We have not had an increase in deputies in the detention area since I've been here. We're asking for one deputy because we'd like to promote within corporal, if not a sergeant, so we can have at least a sergeant on each side of the week. Right now, we only have a sergeant covering one side of the week. The other side is not being covered by a sergeant. It has a corporal, but he's there till 10 o'clock at night. So we would like to promote inside, and then we have to have that deputy to backfill the position that we're promoting for that reason.
Yeah, with that promotion, that covers this cost here? That cost is included, is my question?
No, I was not aware of the
Okay.
promotion.
Okay, thank you.
So do you promote frequently from the detention to patrol? Does that happen?
We do. We offer, we put a memo out to the detention staff. If you're interested in applying for a patrol position, send a memo through your chain of command, which would get over to our chain of command, and they'd go through the interview process. We have brought, rough ballpark figure, about 5 or 6 since I've been here, and I believe 2 have made it through, and the rest either decided, hey, this isn't for me, I'd rather go back to the jail, or they just weren't gonna cut it out on the road. But their options to returning and trying again are always there. So we've had a few people that have worked at jail who are now on the road. So we're getting a lot more transports too. I don't know if that was mentioned at all, but we're making more and more transports, picking up prisoners from our warrants. And lately, it seems like none of them are close. You know, Prowers County, La Junta, we've gone to down south, sorry.
Yeah.
Those are coming more and more frequent. We got extraditions coming up. Those come in spurts as well. We got 2 of them coming up in the next, I'm guessing, month. One in Texas, one in Arkansas. And that's a 2-man job to go on those extraditions to pick up people for us to bring them back for trial. And like I said, those come in spurts, but we've already got 2 this year, and that was, I think, as many as we had last year.
Okay. Any questions?
Yep.
So, go ahead.
I was gonna bring up number 8.
Yep.
Discuss that. We've had this in the past, and Commissioner Schroeder, I don't know if you're a commissioner then or not, where there was an option. We have 2 openings right now, and we're interviewing people for those openings right now. And we're still not ideal manpower situation where we want to be, but we understand 26 budget. We'll address that in the 26 budget. We would just like the opportunity to approach you if we get a handful of candidates come in, and we don't want these folks to leave. A few years ago, the board told me that if you fill your spots and you have quality people that you don't want to be gone, please come and see us. That one is just asking for that option again. If we have quality folks that we don't want to see going down the road, just go somewhere else. If we can approach the board and say, hey, we really like these people, we don't want to lose them to anybody else.
Well, you can always approach the board. Now, you might not
Right.
always like the answer you hear,
But you can always approach them.
Understand totally.
I think what you're saying, though, is to be able to continue with the interview process, and because candidates sort of fluctuate. You may get 2 or 3 this month, you may not get any next month, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And when I took over sheriff in 2019, I had 11 openings, and I'd never been able to fill it. And I'm so close right now, I don't want to jinx myself, but we're so close to filling it. And I personally think people are hearing it's good to work out here. It's a good agency to work for. Like I said, our last 2 deputies came from Manitou Springs, and they talk to each other. And we got another one applying from Manitou Springs. So he'll go through the same process as well. And Lake County, a few years ago, one person came and they all started coming because they all heard it's a great place to work. We take care of our people. We're hoping to fill up soon, manpower-wise, not the jail.
Just to point out, it can go either way. They talk, and that's how you
Yep,
can be real good or real bad. There's no in between.
absolutely. I like to say we're good.
Absolutely, I agree. Okay, so we move on to equipment.
Yes, sir.
So the Lexipol, that was part of the lawsuit agreement that we've got, so I don't know, we should discuss that very much, but basically that talks about, that is the company that comes in and looks at your policies, reviews policies, makes recommendations for policies, that kind of thing, correct?
That, and since it's been adapted, they've already sent us 3 pages of updates that the state changed, and they've automatically already put it in their database, and they sent us a list of what they changed to let us know what was changed already.
Is this just a one-time fee then, or is it some kind of
It's
renewal?
it's a yearly.
Annual, yeah,
So that figure right there is the annual.
annual fee, yeah. I look at that like good insurance policy. Well, because Sheriff's Office, correct me if I'm wrong, Sheriff, but you don't have to request it. They stay on top of it, and they send you the updates for state statutes and federal statutes, things of that nature that you.
They automatically send it out.
That's right.
Not only to me, they send it out to every deputy, because that Lexipol app of their policies is on every deputy's phone, or will be on every deputy's phone. So if there's any questions, concerns on what the policy is, they just hit the app on their phone, type in the subject, it pops it up with the current policy and rules and regulations are.
Definitely pays for itself, in my opinion, in the long run. All right, next item you got on here, wall banger for SWAT entry tools.
So you all are aware of our shooting that we had last November in Elizabeth. And that occurred when a deputy with a ram hit the door, forced the door open, and the suspect was laying on the ground, prone position. And he fired several rounds at our deputies, hitting one in the, I'll call it chest, but lower neck, upper chest. Thankfully, he had a vest on, it stopped it. But this piece of equipment that we're talking about, the wall banger, it's on an 8 to 10 foot pole. And it's a device that you connect to the door, primarily probably the door lock mechanism. And you're able to place it on the door, step back, and you're able to blow that door off without anybody, not off, but force it open without any deputy being up at close range in a doorway of where most shootings happen is an open doorway. This equipment's being used by surrounding agencies now. And if it's going to save an officer or deputy, anybody from going up to the doorway and possibly getting shot at or shot by a suspect or multiple suspects in a room, I think that is a smart way to make entry. Not saying we'd go rushing in after the door's open. That way we can get our drone in. We can fly the drone through the house, apartment, give us eyes on the inside of what's going on already, where a suspect's at, where an individual may be down. Give us more intelligence of what's going on in that facility or house or apartment before we send anybody in there to get hurt.
So you had that case in Elizabeth, and then let's don't forget, we had the case in Douglas County where the deputy was shot and killed.
Yes, sir.
the department. So, I mean, this is a officer safety item that really is needed.
We could have used it on, be honest, we could have used this device on the County Road 77 shooting a few months back. We had no way of getting any intel on the RV trailer, so we had to smash out a few windows and because the individual said, if you come in or try to come in, I will shoot. So we could have popped this device, got it on the door, popped the door open, and we could have put in a robot or a drone or something just to get eyes on the inside of how many weapons this gentleman has, or what the land layout is. Is there a hoarder house? Is it completely empty? Is he even in the building anymore, in the room
Or any
anymore?
kids in there. That,
Exactly.
you know, see
Animals.
how many thugs are in there versus, yeah, I get it. It's definitely a safety tool, that's for sure. And I'm sure if we did any studying on it, we would find this is I've researched it. It's a very useful tool, especially for officer safety, so.
I got 2 guys right now in training, and they're using that particular piece of equipment in their training class as we speak this week.
Okay. You got your additional equipment for 2024 approved deputies?
Are we on number 3, sir?
Sorry, I did not put number 3 on your list. I think there was a miscommunication as to what that is. So back in 2024, the Sheriff's Office was granted permission to buy additional SWAT gear because of this last incident that was just discussed.
Okay.
The board said, yes, please get that equipment, get it ordered. Knowing that the time frame of when that approval happened and when the possibility of the Sheriff's Office actually receiving the product and getting invoiced for that product, we did buffer the 2025 budget for those items as well. So they have been approved in the 2025 budget. If for some reason the cost of these items were to make the general fund go over budget, we would then require a supplemental appropriation for the fund, not necessarily their particular GL code.
I also have a note on that for you.
Sure.
We have a $12,000 capital reimbursement that go to 211-6003
Okay.
that you can use to offset on that request.
We can talk about that more after the meeting, absolutely.
Okay. So is that, do we need to keep going? Because my page is not numbered, so I don't know this.
No, you're good. Yes, please.
So the next item is the additional equipment. We want to expand the SWAT team by 2 members, which they've already attended SWAT school last week. And both of them were in the top 5 of their class.
Great.
So shooting, they were in the top 3 for these 2 deputies. We're requesting the equipment needed for SWAT. The heavy vest, the helmets, the weapons. Right underneath that, since we're talking about SWAT equipment, we're requesting, we don't have a sniper. We did have a sniper, but he resigned 2 years ago and went to Denver. Obvious reasons. He was our sniper. He had his own personal .308 rifle. So the precision rifles that we're requesting are for two snipers for our SWAT team.
And just want to make it clear too, while we're talking about this protective equipment, these tactical vests and things are just like the body vest, body armor that they wear. They have a shelf life, and they will expire. So this is not a once and done cost here. So,
They're a 5-year shelf life on those.
yeah, same as their everyday.
Absolutely.
So, okay.
And that next line was, I'm sorry, the last line, number 7. Do you have that, Tiffany?
Yes, that's the 2
Yeah,
additional SWAT
that was
positions.
the extra equipment, protective equipment for the 2 new SWAT guys if approved. And
Go ahead, sir.
then the last thing we had on our list was the cars.
So I guess I'm a little confused. Are you taking deputies that are already employed to join the SWAT?
Yes.
Okay.
And then as far as like our capital budget that goes out, like 5 years, 10 years, that's something that we can just automatically, like for this ballistic vest and things, we can start putting in there
Can add on to that.
so future commissioners know.
When to budget for it and
Yeah.
can plan appropriately?
Yeah.
Yes.
It would probably be the same 2 deputies that just we sent to SWAT school.
Okay.
Then I guess this year, you just got the new vests because the previous board approved purchase of the deputy's vest.
Yes.
So we can say about 5 years from now, we'll need to be, or 4 years from now,
Actually,
we'll need to be talking about.
They approved vests and shields. So
Yeah.
we have shields as well.
Okay.
Explain how that budget process went. You budgeted for it for 2024. Did you get them in, paid for, and
We did not get them in 2024. We approached the board end of November, beginning of December,
I was going to say, I think it was October.
Yeah.
October.
Undersheriff relayed the story to us in October at our
Okay.
town hall, and at that point, even at the town hall, we said, order what you need.
Correct.
So it was October.
And we ordered it. That stuff isn't like put on a shelf. You can walk in a store and just grab it. It has to be made, you have to be measured. And they take the measurements back to their facility or factory. They make it per individual for their outer vest, the heavy vest. We call them heavy vests. Then the helmets, they may have those in different sizes for helmets, but the vests are the big one. The ceramic plates that go in them, they have to be molded, I guess is a good way to put it, to fit in their vest. So
but that was budgeted for 2025, and then now you guys have them. You have all the equipment.
we got it all in 2025, yeah. We ordered it in 2024. It didn't arrive until 2025.
Okay, just want to check.
Okay. Anything else on here we need to discuss, sir?
2 vehicles, sir.
Okay.
Which we found out, unfortunately, the hard way here not too long ago, is that we were running short on vehicles. If we're gonna hire these people, we need to have the vehicles to put them in. We were approved, I believe, for 9 this year, correct?
That is correct.
We asked, I believe, for the original request, I believe, was 16. Was it 14 or 16? And somehow the number 9 got settled on from Ethan.
Well, part of that was that the 5 ordered in 23 never came in, so
Well-
we knew that the 5 were still hanging out there in addition to the 9 that were ordered of what should have been received. So there was 14
So the,
pending vehicle orders.
So there was only 2 left on that were coming in on that original request when we put in the vehicles. We have 9 this year that are delivered. They're being, well, half of them are here, I believe. Half are down at Laws being outfitted. The hard thing I think people don't understand is it takes a while to get these cars outfitted. There's 3 major companies in the state of Colorado, and they're all in the same predicament of outfitting cars. It just takes a long time. And you can blame it on not enough manpower or whatever the reason may be is, but
That's out of our control.
it's out of our control. I mean, I call them and I say, hey, can you just at least boost us up 2 at the head of the line or something like that so we can get some cars. We've had 2 transmissions and an engine go out on a couple of vehicles a month and a half ago. And that's where we started running short on vehicles. And we were hiring people. We were called 2 weeks ago, maybe 3, by our Chevy representative, said, hey, we had an agency back out of their order. And I think they had 7 Tahoes like ours that we ordered. I'll hold you a couple if you want to try to get a couple extra. That's why we put this here. We told her to hold 2. We would approach the board and see if we can go for at least 2 more. And that's what she's doing. She's waiting to hear from us.
And those numbers you got here, that's with the lease and,
So that's based on Unified, who we're using this year. That number will probably go up a little bit because that does only include the vehicle, not the upfitting. Because it's about $55,000 per vehicle, and then the upfitting is about $24,000. So that lease amount would go up some with the upfitting included.
I guess the question of that lease amount you said, so the outfitting's included in the lease, or is that something we pay separately?
So previously, we've always had it included with the
Included,
lease. There was a bit of a miscommunication with this new company. They told us that they had included it. After Ethan and I did some more research, it's not in there currently. So that was something that both Sean and I were working on to get the solution for. But going forward, there were maybe some more options that we can look at, so.
Okay, thank you.
I think the big picture item here is to look at the total dollar amount of the budget request. It looks like it's going to increase the sheriff's office budget by a little over $1 million next year. What I want to remind the board, because we've kind of referenced the agreement several times already, we kind of need to just look at that number. The budget 211 number is 5.2 million. The budget 212 number is 2.8 million. You add this additional unfunded budget request for the sheriff's operating costs, that adds a little bit over $1 million. So really the board just needs to look at the total amount. If you approve it, kind of stay out of the weeds and let the sheriff decide how he's going to use that money. As far as the operations of the department, that falls under him. So let's kind of remember that as we start asking him to explain all these things to us. He has to decide what to do with what you're allocating to him, make those decisions as he wants to go forward on it.
Thank you, sir.
Can I make another comment?
Absolutely.
Right now, we're averaging between 31 and 35,000 miles per vehicle per year. And we're on a 4-year lease right now. I'm not sure what the new lease is on these ones.
So it is up to a 5-year lease with at the 3-year mark doing a buyout. It's set up a little different. The ones that we have done previously were basically a lease purchase where we knew we were going to have the possession of them at the end of that time. With Unified, it is a little bit different. We have the option of looking at the value of the vehicle at that year 3 mark and determining if we would like to go ahead and just pay that off and then keep it, or if we can turn around, possibly sell it and make some money on that. So that
What we're currently doing.
That's what we're going to be going towards. So that'll be something that, Ethan and I are kind of looking at as well after that year 3 mark and seeing if it's worth it, and if it's something that would be beneficial to the county.
Have you been successful in that reselling some of these vehicles
So-
and making money off of it, or?
We do.
We're not talking about a lot of money. We're not
No.
like something that would be.
Like old pickup trucks, we were selling, I think we're getting an average of $10,000 a piece off the old pickup trucks that we had, and they're 180,000 miles, if not more. We have not sold a Tahoe yet. I don't even know if we have any up for auction right now with Ethan. I know we have a couple Chargers and a couple pickups. I don't believe we have a Tahoe ready to be auctioned yet.
No, not at this time. Basically, Ethan's working with Lamoureux.
Yes, sir.
Right, the sheriff's office fleet manager to kind of decide what they want to do. Let's just keep in mind the requests, and then that amount is the $607,000 roughly for this year that would be unappropriated. So that's basically what we'd be looking at right now, how much is it gonna cost, for the rest of the year? And then next year, when we budget, the sheriff will come with the updated numbers and, proposal. So you'll have a chance to review that number at that time. Right now, we're really looking at this $607,000 roughly.
So next year, when he comes to talk about the budget, it's gonna be close to what he's been running historically, or whatever he's projecting, plus this 963 of new.
Right. We're looking at roughly $1 million difference going up next year. And obviously, the exception to that rule is what the sheriff already said, the 2 additional staff positions he has there is kind of like, gives him the ability to hire if he wants, based on, the quality of the applicants. That's what he said. So basically, that number could change, could not change, and then you don't know what it looks like next year for sure, because he'll let you know if he needs more people or not. But right now,
Yeah, and going into next year, from what we're hearing from the assessor, property values are relatively flat. So our revenue will be relatively flat next year as well. So that has to be taken into consideration when we're thinking about adding $1 million of ongoing expense. A couple questions, Sheriff, on just the equipment side. If we take the vehicles out of consideration for a moment.
Yes, sir.
And just look at the other amount that's there. When I was looking at the quarterly variance report, you currently are sitting almost at $70,000 just in the vacancy savings alone. And that would more than take care of everything there except for the vehicles. And so are you still expecting to allocate that $70,000 somewhere else, or could that $70,000 go toward this? Yes, ma'am.
So I did look into their salaries and where they're currently at and project throughout the year. That is showing a little bit of a salary savings currently because there are a majority of employees who have not received their merit for the year yet. So that is not taking that into consideration. Okay. When I was looking at the projections based off of last year as well, with overtime that was expended from May to the end of the year, if they were to keep on track, they would actually be go over budget by about $25,000.
So that's where we're tracking.
That's where we're tracking currently for 211.
Well, then I retract that.
For 212, they were sitting a little bit better and being under budget by about $10,000 if they were to continue to use the same amount of OT that they did last year this year.
Okay.
And we're hoping that overtime will be coming down with the new deputies that we're putting on the road.
Another question that hasn't anything to do with what we've talked about so far, but it's kind of left over from before. As I was looking at the leaf revenues for the quarter as well, quite a ways behind on what the budget number was. And I know last year we had talked about that we were concerned that the DA's office was cutting too many deals and not.
They still are.
That's still where our problem is at with that.
Majority.
Okay.
And a lot of these deputies now are, I can tell you our ticket has gone down because they're just getting too busy doing other things. Are they still writing tickets? Of course they're still writing tickets, but it's nowhere near what it used to be because the calls for service are just, we're answering 47 calls a day, average, for all 24-hour
For a
period.
24-hour period. Okay. Well, I'll make a note. We'll talk with the DA again about that.
Any other questions?
Not right now.
I have a question. So Dallas mentioned the payroll. There was some additional funds there potentially, but you talked about the merit increases and different things, so that wasn't really in fact there. But for example, the gasoline, is budgeted annually for 200,000. Year-to-date for the quarter is 21,000, so there's an extra 28,000 there in just the gasoline fund alone. Is that something that we could potentially use to offset some of these equipment costs?
I was going to say, we don't ever reappropriate from a set GL to a different GL, but if there is cost savings within the department and the fund, if you guys approve that, then yes, we could go forward with that option.
She could probably answer this quicker than me, but I think we've been under budget in the fuel last couple of years.
Yes, I think you guys were trying to average that out because we did switch fuel companies
Yes.
here recently. And you guys were having to fuel at other places, I believe, for a while as well, which was increasing your costs. Now that Ethan's been here and we've gotten a new fuel company, our fuel costs have gone down significantly.
Yes, sir.
So Tiffany, based on your experience, is there any other opportunity within this budget to save some money or to help with some of these costs? Because it's a big number.
It is a big number. We are only through April. We still have the majority of the year. It's very hard to say right now what that cost savings is going to look like. I can definitely go through their department and see if there's some line items and discuss with them what they think their projections are. But again, that's going to be projections and absolutely no guarantee.
Yeah, I understand.
And we're coming up to our busiest time of the year as well. From
Correct.
May till September, with all the events going on and the nice weather, calls for service, everything's going to be.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
January, February, nobody's out doing too much. March, it's cold out there and they got a lot of snow,
So as soon as nice weather hits, the calls go.
So should we schedule another meeting maybe in 60 days to see, because then we'll be in the middle of the summer and we can see maybe some better projections about where you're going to be?
We would also have hopefully because we'll be receiving the audit in June, which will give us a much better idea of where we're sitting on our 2024 financials and what the unrestricted fund balance is as well. That would give us a better idea of what number we're actually working with for unbudgeted items for 2025.
Okay. It's 2:05 and we have another meeting here, so we need to wrap this up. Is there anything, Sheriff, that you'd like to add?
Just thank you for your time and consideration on this equipment and personnel.
I would like to add something real quick. To put some of these safety items off for 60 days, I'm not going to be able to look at myself in the mirror if someone gets hurt.
Well, I was not talking about that.
Opening a door on some of this equipment items and some of these things. I'd like to move it up a little bit if we can and kind of come to a resolution on some of the top items. Obviously not today, but make sure you guys are safe out there and equipped how you need to be.
We've had 3 officer-involved shootings since I've been sheriff, 2 of them within the last 7 months. So times are changing.
Well, just to be clear, I was not talking about putting off the safety equipment. I was talking about looking at the projections for the overall budget to see where we're at, because I agree with you. I think that, there's no dollar value on safety. We've got to make sure that these guys are taken care of. So I want to be clear about that. So I'll leave it at that. Sir?
No, I don't disagree.
Okay.
No, I think that's fine. You can always, put it on a meeting and put a not to exceed amount on it so he can take care of the things that are most essential, so he can take care of the things he wants to get done immediately, and then you can revisit the extra stuff later and decide if you want to appropriate that stuff as well.
So we can put that on this next agenda?
You can ask to have that put on the next agenda for the next meeting. You could cap it at a certain amount. So like he's already said that the 2 deputy positions, I think he said he'd take your word on that if you said you would be able to staff those positions later. So that's projected at $114,000, it looks like. You take that off the $495, but then it's going to be a wash with the emergency equipment. That's right now at $111,000 basically. So I don't know if you capped it at $500,000, if that would work for the sheriff. Obviously, you need to ask the sheriff if that would work. That would be something you could look at for the next meeting. That would give him the approval to take care of most of these items and then revisit at budget season, the other $500,000, I guess, for next year, which would come to another $1 million total to the budget, roughly. But again, some of these things he said were not definite. So that's going to bring that number down at least, what, $228,000? And then if he's already purchased the one-time cost stuff, that's not going to be on the budget next year either. That's going to lower the cost again. So just something to consider. But if you want him to move on the stuff that's most important, then probably should get it on the agenda and approve.
Would you be okay with that, Sheriff?
Yes, sir.
Well, I would request, just for the sake of discussion and for the public, that we have two separate items then listed, one for personnel considerations and one for equipment considerations on the agenda.
I agree with that. I think that would be the best way to go with that. Okay. All right, anything else we need to talk about here?
No, I think we're good unless the sheriff has something else he needs.
No, sir.
All right, Commissioner Schroeder, anything else, sir? Commissioner Buck,
Do we know which agenda this will be on? Will be the next one,
the next one.
and that is 14th.
Yes, sir. Week from today.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so with that, the time is 2:08 p.m., and we will close this meeting. Thank you.